Today we're going to be comparing the brand new Stokke Beat to its predecessor, the Stokke Scoot. The Stokke Beat is in many ways a rework of the Stokke Scoot, which now has been discontinued in order to make room for the Beat. So a lot of the mechanisms are the same, a lot of things have been made different, but it's essentially meant as an upgraded version to fill the same category or class in relation to size and weight for people who want a more urban, lightweight sort of a stroller. We'll start off with the differences as they relate to dimensions, size, and weight. So the biggest difference between these two is actually a reduction in weight. The Scoot came in at a little bit under 13 kilos with the seat. The Beat clocks in at 9.5 kilos with the seat, which is actually pretty significant when we're talking about a small size daily stroller. Size-wise, they're about the same size. The Beat is 78 by 53 by 32 centimeters when folded down. The Scoot was 72 by 55 by 32 centimeters when folded down. So the Beat is actually a little bit longer by 6 centimeters along its widest side, but it's still not a big difference. They are more or less the same dimensions. When it comes to weight capacity, the Scoot took 15 kilos in the seat, and the Beat now claims to take 22 kilos in the seat, which is far more than you would need anyway. As far as weight capacity in the shopping baskets are concerned, the Beat has 10 kilos, which is double the Scoot's 5 kilo capacity in the shopping basket. So the chief way that they have saved weight is actually with the seat unit, which we will begin with. And the seat unit on the Scoot came in at almost 4 kilos on its own. The seat unit weighs almost nothing on the Beat. And we have videos where we take the textiles off of both of these seat units if you're interested in seeing. But the seat unit under the textiles on the Beat is composed of very, very thin plastic. There's very, very thin connection points along it, whereas the Scoot is really a solid piece of work, even without the footrest attached. And in addition, it has a few nice things with this, like it has a crossbar, so it's a lot easier to just put the seat unit in place and find the correct position. Whereas if you tend to remove the seat on the Beat, it's not necessary to do that most of the time, but still if you do, it's a little bit hard to find the same position because those locking points on the back of the seat unit are loose from each other. Now that being said, the seat unit on the Beat is larger. It will accommodate a larger child. The mechanism here in the back for adjusting the position of the seat is a bit more user-friendly on the Beat. It's a lot more in line with the rest of the industry, just being a single strap that can lock at various points, while on the Scoot it kind of had its own very unique way of adjusting the seat, which was a pair of straps that give you a couple of different positions in relation to the recline, and then of course the full recline as well. In addition to this, the Beat seat unit has an adjustable footrest built into the seat, which is kind of nice. On the Scoot, you had a footrest that you had to swap separately to the back side if you wanted reverse facing, whereas in this case, it's integrated into the seat unit itself. That being said, the footrest on the Beat is really the most worrying mechanism for me of the entire stroller, because the points at which it changes position and locks in place is made of a lot of plastic, and it is very fiddly to get fit into the correct positions just from the outset. So another place that the reduction in weight has taken a little bit of a toll on the design of the Beat when it comes to the mechanics is the handle itself. And I'm talking about the entire handle, especially as it moves up past the handle height adjustment mechanisms. So everything's been done a lot thinner on the Beat, including these handle adjustment mechanisms and also including the circumference of the handle itself. In general, when you're using the stroller, this isn't going to make much of a difference, but it does have something to do with structural integrity, and it makes it a little bit more susceptible to any sort of damage that comes in from the side. This could either be an accident while you're packing and carrying the stroller, but it could also simply be that you've put a lot of weight in the stroller and you're taking it over slightly uneven terrain, and there's a bit more pressure side to side. It's going to put more pressure on the rivet inside the height adjustment mechanism, as well as on that bar that really has to take the entirety of that side-to-side weight. Okay, moving down, we have the central locking mechanism. I was actually a fan on the central locking mechanism in both cases. It's made quite sturdily. It has a series of interlocking metal discs inside here, and it's just generally a sturdy system in both cases. The Beat is actually a simplification of the system, which is really nice because on the Scoot you sometimes had some alignment issues where it was a little bit hard to get it to lock upright sometimes. That was easily fixable with a little bit of silicone spray, a little bit of lubrication, but still it's nice that they've ironed that out by removing parts and making it a little bit simpler on the Beat. Overall, it was already a good central locking mechanism, and it has been improved even further with the Beat. Okay, having a look at the lower rear frame of both these strollers then, the most obvious difference is the loss of the large suspension unit that you had on the Scoot. I think that this is actually quite a big deal as it severely limits where you can comfortably drive the Beat in relation to terrain. So that suspension unit really allowed this thing to be efficient for driving in parks and on sort of light off-road terrain, and the Beat is going to just jitter and jolt in a lot of those places that the Scoot would have succeeded in driving quite comfortably. A little bit lower then you have the brake systems. These are actually quite different brake systems. Both of them are very simple. The Scoots was a little bit more externalized. You can see the pin as it goes down into the wheel housings. Sometimes one had problems with this brake system based chiefly on either just the need of a little bit of lubrication here where the pin goes into the wheel, but also because the lower wheel housings would loosen. That was really just a matter of tightening up those lower wheel housings and using a little bit of lubrication. You could fix any sort of problems that occurred with the brake system. On the Beat, it's also very simple as far as how it functions inside this bar. They've gone for this flip-flop friendly sort of central brake pedal. I do anticipate there potentially being some problems where the brake system attaches to the wheels, both as a result of the thinness and length of the pin up here, as well as the pressure now being put not on the lower housings, but on the wheel itself in relation to how tightly the wheel attaches to the rear of the stroller. If you'd like to hear me explain that a little bit more, you can watch our review on the Beat. Okay, we'll have a little bit of a look at the front frames now. The swivel locks are more or less the same on both of these. At least they function in the same way. The way they're activated involves a little bit larger mechanism. On the Scoot, it's like this large lever on the back side, but the way it functions in both cases is a small plastic pin that shoots down and locks into the fork on the wheel itself. They do tend to claim that it has suspension. I noticed in their advertisements for the Beat, what they're actually talking about is a spring-loaded pad here on the bottom that helps to put pressure down on the fork. In my opinion, that's not suspension. What that actually is, the effect it has, is to help protect the frontal housings from the axle wearing down the inside of those frontal housings. You actually had the same sort of a setup on the original Scoot. It's simply that the spring-loaded pad is on the top of the fork as opposed to protruding down from the inside of the front frame. Now, in both these cases, the actual spring involved in the system is simply too weak to really provide any suspension in the sense of reducing the bumps to the overall chassis and your child and the overall driving experience when you're going over any terrain. The majority of front swivel wheel models that have suspension in the front have a much thicker spring integrated into the fork itself. So for me, that's wobble protection. It's very nice that they have it, as it can prevent you having trouble with those wheels loosening down the road, but it does not really count as suspension. But it is good that they have that integrated into the front frames of both of these models. To conclude, I just want to make a quick note on the changes in the wheels. I imagine this also has to do with reduction of weight, but they have switched over from a foam-filled tire type design to simply a foam design. I like the foam-filled tire design a lot more, even though it adds a little bit of weight. For a couple of reasons. Number one, it adds a little bit more added suspension to the model in general, which you really would have sorely needed on the Beat since you took away the rear suspension. In addition to that, it wears down a lot slower than pure foam wheels, even though this seems like a very hard foam, simply because when you have just foam on wheels, small pebbles have a tendency to embed themselves in the foam and make the wheel kind of look bad after a while. Whereas foam-filled tires is really, in my opinion, the optimal way of doing a stroller wheel in general, because you don't have punctures, and at the same time, you have the advantages that you get from the tire. So in any case, that was our comparison between the older Stokke Scoot and the new Stokke Beat that has come to replace it. As you can see, some things have been improved, but in a lot of ways, some things have been made worse, in my opinion, when we're talking about mechanics. With the shift from the Scoot to the Beat. I understand that it's a bit slimmer. It probably is a little bit more in line with the industry overall in relation to style, but there have been some losses mechanically. I kind of also additionally like with the Scoot that even though it has a few of these things that might not be immediately viewable as user-friendly and aren't in a way that user-friendly, such as the footrest that has to be switched over, the seat adjustment mechanism, and sort of the whole setup on the back. It has a little bit more of a unique feel, which I think that Stokke has with a lot of their other strollers. It's like a lot of the designs simply occur in-house and are very different from what you see across the rest of the market. And I mean, the Beat, I'm not going to say it wasn't designed in-house, But a lot of the way the stroller looks and a lot of the mechanisms do feel a lot more kind of generic in relation to the overall market, as though they were trying to bring the Scoot into like more of a comparison with, say, the Pre-Am or some of these other sort of modern, current mid-size models on the market. But there have been some improvements as well, and in any case, that is kind of what has changed between these two models. We hope that you found this video interesting, and if you did, we ask that you subscribe, as it helps continue making videos in the future. Thank you.